Something. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Photo Mish Mash. This one being broadcast live December 9th, 2020. We've got a packed show. We're going to share some holiday gift guides. I know it's getting really close to the time when you should be ordering presents and things like that, but we're going to share a couple of gift guides. I think there's still some time to get some ideas and get something under the tree. We also have to talk about this drone flyer. He's been fined $182,000. And there's a few of you drone flyers out there in the audience, myself included. I want to make sure we're not doing what he did to avoid any kind of fines like this. And we got to talk about, is it ridiculous? Is this government out of control? We've got some really good, strong alternatives to Lightroom. And I'm getting more and more interested by the day because I don't know about you all out there, but my Lightroom has started in this latest version to crash about once a use. That's not good. I don't like that. Could be me, could be my older iMac, which speaking of, I want to pick these gentlemen's brains about how they feel about Macs and waiting for these new M1 chips that will be in iMacs next year. And of course, we'll be reviewing your photos if you're a Pen member and lots more stuff. This is going to be a great show. I'm so glad everybody has joined us. And today, I'm so happy to welcome back David Carr as one of our guests. David, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me back. As always, it's good to be back. It feels like it's been forever, but I think it's only been a few weeks. But here we are.
I know, just a couple weeks, because we have been so consistent with the show for the most part this year because of lack of travel for many of us.
Yeah.
When we skip a week or two, it does feel like a really long time.
Yeah, well, so happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you,
Toby. Your birthday was yesterday. And when I posted a picture of the two of us on Mish Mash, and I had to scroll way back to find that photo. I mean, it was just a screenshot, but I had to scroll through all the episodes, and I was like, man, we've done a lot of episodes since then. So it just kind of showed me, like, it's easy to kind of forget all the Wednesdays that we've done this. So it's always a highlight of my week, though. I really enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that and love having you on. I think the shot you shared was when you were on the show in person, when you came out for a little visit.
Yeah.
People did that kind of thing back.
I was
just over a year ago.
A little over a year ago. Yeah, I was gonna do what people are saying right now. I was just trying to find a screenshot like this, and then I saw that one. I was like, oh yeah, I was at his studio. That would be even better. So, yeah.
Awesome. Nice.
Good to be back.
Good. And we're bringing back, it's the regular team today, the folks that have been here for the most. And Steve Scurich, so happy to have you back in. How are you?
I'm great. It is great to be back. And happy belated birthday, Toby. Thank you. That was actually kind of an emotional day for me when I saw that it was your birthday. I do have it on my calendar, but I saw Timmy Scott's post on Instagram first, where he tagged you in a story wishing you a happy birthday. And that prompted me to go and kind of do the same thing with mine. But, all of a sudden I was like, man, we did Yellowstone. I know I've talked about this on the show before, but we did Yellowstone. And then I haven't been on any tours this year at all. And I just started totally reminiscing. And it also didn't help that you did the editing for the image review that just went out for October for the Pen members. We can talk about that in a second. And you put a bunch of these selfies that you and I had taken in some of the travels. And I was like, God, I want to just get back out there with you, man.
Yeah. So folks know the Yellowstone trip you referred to was February.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you too, Carr. I don't mean to leave you out there, but it was Toby's birthday yesterday. So
no, that's okay. I get it, man. I want to go out and hang out with both you guys and all the McKay folks, and I mean everybody that I miss it. Even though some trips are still happening here and there, it's just everything's just so in flux right now.
Yeah. It's funny. A couple of years ago, actually about a year and a half ago, I approached David and said, hey, David McKay. And I said, I'm just not going to be able to keep up this tour schedule. We're moving to Cincinnati. I'm going to start shooting homes again. And I'm going to have to, kind of cut back probably to about 50% of what I'm doing. I was doing 12 to 14 tours a year. I need to make that more like 6. Not knowing that 2020 was going to hit and it was basically going to go down to 1.
Right.
I'm like, God, this is not at all. It's like, be careful what you wish for.
Seriously.
From feast to famine.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, this was so yes, it was my birthday yesterday. I did really appreciate all of the wishes. It was fun for folks to post pictures who've been on tours with me, or just wish me happy birthday. This was the first birthday I was home for in 4 years.
Amazing.
Wow.
I've always
Wow.
been in Alaska.
Oh yeah, I guess that would make sense. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, I'd love to be in Alaska, but I had a very, very nice birthday with family yesterday, and we played Monopoly, and I was the first to lose. I mean, what's up? Come on, shouldn't they have been a little nice? It was my birthday.
They should at least gift you Boardwalk and Park Place when you begin the game, right?
Yes.
I bet you
could.
could.
Well,
I bet you
Go
could
ahead.
beat them in chess, though.
yes, I could.
Okay,
I
yeah.
could do
See, that's what you got to play. It's something you know you can just kill them in. So.
I thought I could kill a Monopoly. I know those strategies, but
Yeah.
then Henry and Fiona set up this little like cabal between the two of them. And then,
okay.
5 minutes into the game, I look over. It was about an hour into the game because Monopoly. And Henry is sitting on a stack of 100s that are like 4 inches thick. Where'd you get all that money? Anyway. Anyway, speaking of money, I can't wait to share this story about this guy that got fined $180,000 for drone flights. So hang in. We'll talk about that. Plus, of course,
Gosh.
the Lightroom updates. Steve, you mentioned us just wrapping up the image review for Pen for the month of October. A little behind, but I think we always are. Folks have come to expect that, but it does get out. Can you talk a little bit more about what that image review was and why you enjoy doing it?
Yeah, for those who don't know, we've got a lot of people in the audience here from the Photo Enthusiast Network, and that's a company that I was a co-founder of, and Toby is currently, he's also one of the co-founders and currently one of the administrators and instructors. But each month we hold an image review, and basically the framework for this image review is that of Professional Photographers of America annual International Photographic Competition. And there's 12 elements to a merit image. We link that in the video highlighting people's images. We basically pick a top 5 for the month. Each member is allowed to submit 1 image per month due on the 25th. From those, we pick a top 5 as judges, and then the top image, the winner of that month, will receive a prize from Bay Photo, which is usually a large format print, whether it's canvas or metal or what have you. And it's usually valued at about $150 to $200. So it's a really nice gift. Not to mention bragging rights and everything else. We've got a number of people that continue to show up in the top 5. It's great to see their photography has improved by leaps and bounds over the last couple of years. And the great news is we're starting to see some new names pop up, and that's really exciting for me. And this month was just no exception to what we've been going through. Some very difficult choices for us. The images are just really, really awesome. When we started doing this, we used to make tons of edits to the images to say, okay, here's where you placed, but let's talk about where you could go with this picture. And it's always easier to just show somebody in a photograph where you could go. And we've been doing less and less of that as the time has gone on, because quite frankly, the images have been coming in just, PPA competition worthy. So anyway, if you're a Pen member, for sure, check that out. This month's video that Toby and I did was only, Toby, 36 minutes long, which may sound like a lot in the YouTube world, but these have been up to 2 hours in the past. So you're going to learn by watching critiques of other images, and don't be nervous. We're friendly about this whole thing. It's iron sharpening iron, and people are encouraging each other. And it's just really, really awesome to see the competition grow and some new names appear.
Cool.
Yeah, well said. And you can find out more at photorec.tv/pen is where to find all that information. And I think Roy, Roy's in the chat room. He is collecting, first we should say, welcome, chat room. Thank you so much for joining us today. Always appreciate your kind thoughts. Like Brian said, there is no mercy in Monopoly. It's okay. I agree with you, right? You make this show so much better. Thanks for being there today. And Roy is in the chat room. You can follow him at McKee Photos on Instagram. And he's collecting questions. So if you have questions you'd like to see us answer towards the end of the show, feel free to drop those in the chat with a little Q in front of them. So, and I saw one comment. Last time we had the show, I was a little soft audio-wise, so I'm hoping it's better. I did see one comment that said it was a little soft, so I'll try to project and hope that comes through all right. All right, so we've done a little bit of catch-up, and I think we're just going to dive into the part of the show we really enjoy, and that's where pen members have submitted images for feedback. And oftentimes we refer to this as kind of the first step in the process of entering that competition that Steve was just talking about, the final competition that kind of is the highest level competition that we offer in pen. And this is the beginning. This is where you start to see what we think about your images, and we give you some tips and tricks for improving them in Lightroom as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share that screen and hope that my Lightroom doesn't crash, because as I said, I'm not exaggerating. It's now about once a use case, once a day, that my Lightroom is crashing on me, and earlier today it happened when I clicked over to these Mish Mash images. So let's just hope. Gentlemen, are either of you seeing any kind of these issues?
Yes, I feel like it's just one thing after another lately. Between Lightroom and Photoshop, even using the latest version, everything on my computer is as updated as it possibly can be. And I don't know, it just feels like things get hung up more just often, and I don't know, it just feels like things should be a lot smoother, especially like Photoshop. I mean, that's supposed to be, lightning fast, and it usually is, but every now and then I just get this weird beach ball and things just laggy and stuff like that. It's been quite frustrating, to be honest, and the wheels have been turning a little bit, so to speak, on finding some other options.
Yeah.
I haven't been having any problems with Lightroom, but I do very little heavy lifting in Lightroom these days. Most of it's all done in Photoshop. But I have been having I've been having tons of problems with Photoshop since the latest update with my plugins, like my Luminar sky replacement software and my NYX collection filters. They just, I'd take an image in there and I do some processing and then bring it back, and it would just be a black image on the Photoshop screen. And I don't know what's going on. And Luminar was the same thing, but I haven't done a deep dive on that. That just kind of started happening, and then I haven't done many home shoots over the last week and a half. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Just scanning the chat room as you both are sharing, and it seems like it's all over the place. Some people are having issues in Lightroom. Some people are having issues in Photoshop. And I'm also seeing the comments that it sounds like there's a little bit of wind noise. I am hearing that. I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah. Oh, now we've got echo.
We do have a little bit of echo. Steve, as we start to dive in these, would you mind trying some headphones for just a minute?
Let me, yes. I need to find the cable for this, though.
Yeah, no worry. We're going to take you, we're just going to go full screen on this. You do what you need to do, and let's just see. We're going to blame Steve first, because look at him. He looks like we should blame him. And we're going to dive into these images here. We have a lot today, a lot of beautiful images. I'm really excited about the quality from all of you. And we're going to start with Christina's Mona. It's pronounced Mona Lake.
Cool.
I'm zoomed in here. Sorry, let me zoom out a little bit. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
So, I think sunset probably, Christina. Lovely colors in the sky, in the foreground. And this is where I really kind of say yes. You shot a little bit wider, and you included some foreground elements. But I really struggle to decide if I was in the same situation, and I actually shot in a very close spot to this earlier this summer. There's so much space between these. I don't know. David Carr, do you have any thoughts on that?
Initially I was kind of wondering what my take would be on that. I feel like the image is composed well. I mean, it might have been nice if Christine, if you'd gotten just a little lower to bring just to bring the foreground elements and that beautiful rock structure, back in the water, to bring those a little bit closer. But I don't know. I kind of like how the reflections are not being interrupted. You've got that longest reflection going right down between some rocks. It feels very intentional to me. If you're gonna have these foreground elements, then I feel like you place them well. I'm only seeing, like, I see a branch on the far right kind of leaning up against that rock. It would take a little bit of Photoshop love, but you could totally get that out of there. And I see there's a crop already. I think that was probably a good crop. I feel like,
think so.
Yeah, I feel like getting rid of, like, this, that was such good instinct there to look at the sky and say, it only is interesting up to a point, and then I don't need any more of the sky. I feel like this is one of those images, like Nick Page or somebody would shoot this exact shot, and in his processing of it, he would get the most drama out of it, you know? And so for me, like, if this was my shot, I think it's a cool shot. Very cool, like, just the scenery and everything. It's unusual. These rocks look strange and jagged. So for me, it's just a matter of really fine-tuning the edit, bringing out highlights here and there, painting in some lighter areas, painting in some darker areas. I would just be experimenting with that stuff and get rid of the branch and maybe a couple of little specks here and there. You know, I wish the water had, you know, I wish it was more glassy maybe, or I've taken shots like this before and gone in Photoshop and done a little bit of motion blur on the water. And it's tricky. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it almost like enhances the water. It makes the water look like it's still moving. But anyway, that's just all.
Yeah, I think those are the great great suggestions. And you know, the foreground is starting to grow on me. And Christina, I think you've made some. Everywhere I went to edit, you had already basically done that. So you did some kind of foreground lightning and warmth of this here. You did a little bit of highlight priority, and I take what David Carr was saying and paint in a little bit more darkness in spots. But I think overall, you've done, and take that stick out. Overall, you've done a nice job.
Yeah.
All right. Paul Anderson.
Oh,
well.
Hey, you guys, I put some headphones on, and do you happen to notice any difference in the audio?
I'm still hearing the wind every now and then.
Yeah, I was actually hearing what you were talking about once I put these on. So I don't know if it makes any difference. I'll leave them on. But
I think it's some sort of digital noise or something. It's just, or aliens.
Yeah. I'll try one other setting here once we move back out of Lightroom and see if it makes any change. Yep. Thanks for trying those, Steve. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
and,
no problem.
Sorry, chat room and viewers, just hang in there with us. All right. So the last time Paul submitted an image, it was fantastic. And I think one of my it might have been during our image review, actually. I was like, man, f4 was the perfect aperture for this. And then I realized that you're walking around with that Sony 600 millimeter that is an f4, and you're shooting it wide open, and you just happen just perfect. I mean, because we do have both deer just really nicely in focus. I actually wonder if you did a little bit of editing there, because I feel like its back falls off of focus a little bit faster than I would expect. So you do have to be careful about that. Yeah. But I think that this is a really nice shot. It's just a lot of fun. You can, all the legs, all the heads. And of course, you've got eye contact from both of them here. I'm not sure what I'd suggest.
Toby, can you zoom in real quick on the heads of the? They are clear, aren't they?
Yeah, they look pretty sharp.
I was looking at his shutter speed, and he must be on a monopod or a tripod or something at that focal length. That's nice and clear. These are great shots. I could see that fall off happening, actually, because you can notice it in the legs, the back legs of that back deer. The fall off is there as well. So it's just that focal plane is very, very tight, and it does fall off very quickly. What I would do with this photo, though, Paul, if you're watching this, is you've got a lot of bright elements and spots and stuff in the background that are competing with the deer in the middle. The fact that the deer in the middle, it works because there's some symmetry between them, but I would definitely try to darken the background. You can see on the right side, there's like 5 black spots sort of in a pattern. And then there's another dark black spot as you move towards the deer's head. And then there's, some real dark on that left-hand side. And then you have some really bright foreground. So what I would do is actually just really burn or darken the background, both the foreground and the background, and probably the background even more, just to have those deer kind of pop off the page a bit more. But because they're right in the center, and they're symmetrical and everything else, you're going to want to process this like a pop-up book, right? Like they're just kind of coming off of the page, because the crop isn't really going to tell a story.
Yeah, that's good points. Nice catch lights in the eyes, though. I mean, I don't know if you painted those in or if that was just the way it was.
They look pretty natural. So if he painted those in, I mean, great job.
Yeah, they do look natural. The cool thing with this shot too, and I know we don't want to dwell too long on every photo, but this is one of those where you could have an image that's almost this good, but not quite, like where one of the deer is not quite looking at the camera, or something in the arrangement of the two looks funky and you can't tell where one of them ends and the other one, but it's just so, and I realize a lot of times with wildlife photography, it's almost luck of the draw. You're like hoping that something cool happens and that you capture it, but you definitely captured it. And so I just think you have so much to work with here. I think Steve's right. It's just a matter of really bringing all the attention to those deer and minimizing any distractions, which there really aren't a lot, but I think it's an issue of light at this point. So.
Yeah, good suggestions. Nice shot, Paul. All right, we're moving on. Tom has submitted a kind of 3 in a row. So here's his original. And then he edited. And Steve took your advice, flipped it. How do you feel about this flipping?
Let's see the original again. Yeah, I don't think I would have flipped this one. Well, I don't know.
It's kind of hard to say.
Quite honestly, I think the edits are maybe a little too extreme. You're showing the sky, which is competing with the white in the water, and when you flip it around, that becomes much more of the story than the direction of the water. Mm-hmm. I think. So, what's the difference between the second and the third one?
I think that there's some cropping.
I see. Yeah.
I think that's mostly it. It actually looks less like cropping and more like it got squished a little, which is interesting to me. Notice that we have a more narrow aspect ratio, but it doesn't feel like we're losing any off the sides. Let me go back one more time.
Yeah, it's just stretching out. That's strange. I don't know.
That is interesting. Tom, I'm curious why you did that, but let's stick with this one right here. We can see he's cleaned up the riverbank some. I mean, here's what I like about this image is this lovely green kind of flow of grass or that's some equisetum stuff or something there, and those yellow leaves sitting on it I think are beautiful, and that kind of framing above this river here. But Steve, your point is that the sky is kind of competing against the white water?
Yeah, so I think what you have here, Tom, is you're shooting at a time of day that there's not harsh shadows or light or anything like that, but it is daylight and it's poking through the trees. And it's almost like there's 2 separate scenes going on here, and it's divided by this green band in the middle. You've got these beautiful trees with the light coming through and the leaves shining the light on the background and that kind of thing. And then you've got the movement of the water and the white rapids and everything going on down there. So to me, there's just too much going on in this overall scene. I would like to see a focus on the story of the intricate details of the water flowing around the rocks, or the leaves, showing sun through the that's beautiful. It's simple. It's gorgeous. And then conversely, if you come down and do the foreground and just cut the sky out, you have another scene that I think works really, really well. And I think you want to reduce your highlights for sure. because you're losing a lot of that movement detail in the water down there. I think if you bring highlights down, you're going to start getting a lot of that back. The good news is it appears to be that your exposure was done very well. You can see in the original image, it was kind of underexposed, which is what you want to do. And the timing of the water flow is good. I don't know what his shutter speed was, but he shot it right in camera. Eighth of a second. Okay. I mean, this is rapid water and you're standing very close to it. You're going to see a lot of movement, and yet you can still see some of the little splashes kind of coming off and stuff. And so that's my suggestion, is to almost piecemeal this up into a couple of different images.
Yep. Sounds good. All right. We're going to move on. Pam Case, Sunset San Diego.
San Diego.
The first thing I want to do is just, we have the sun kind of centered over the city and foreground that's very similar until we get over here and see this whole big interchange. I think I'd like to just kind of take that out, and then we're talking more about thirds with the sun kind of coming down and reaching across from the top left corner. What do you think?
Toby, what if you bring the bottom of the crop way up above the foreground right there, and then come down from the top a bit, right to where the rays start to hit? Yeah, there you go. Okay, because now you have the story of the sun shining down on San Diego.
Yeah.
Again, there was just, and this is something that we talk about a lot when you have a wider angle lens. The temptation is to just get everything in the image, and I really want to challenge you guys to approach a scene and then find the stories within that scene that tell a more compelling story with your image than just the overall view. It's still a gorgeous picture, Pam.
Absolutely.
The way it came in, but this is a way that you can do this in camera, kind of just pick out a portion of the scene, and that becomes a stronger story, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it just dawned on me that, like, one of the main things I think we talk about when we do these image reviews, I mean, almost every image, at some point, the crop is one of the big factors. It's just, where are things supposed to be in this rectangle? We're putting a rectangle together. We're trying to make it the most pleasing rectangle it can be. And where do things need to be? And how bright do they need to be? And how many if there's a repeated thing? It's so important that we figure out where those go, because that's the whole painting a picture thing that I always talk about. You're really trying to create this, as Steve says, the story. You're really trying to capitalize on what am I looking at that tells the best story of what I'm seeing in my purview. What is the main attraction? And in this case, the main attraction is the sun shining on the city. And so it's tempting sometimes. We see the big scene, we see the whole thing. We're like, I want to capture all of this. But I urge you guys to really challenge yourselves to be minimalist in what you put in that rectangle. Only include the things that really do justice to it. And I don't know, and I don't know how to teach that, and I'm not an expert in it, but I just think it's one of those things we want to stretch and grow in.
That's great, and I don't know if folks follow me on Instagram and saw the story I put up earlier this week, where I talked very much about this because I had captured this image in Death Valley, and once I got it on the computer, I realized that what had caught my attention out in the field, this little dude standing up on top of this, was just kind of lost in this bigger image. And so I posted both versions of it, the wide one and the more cropped in version, and let people, kind of decide. Interestingly enough, it was kind of split 50-50, which I did not expect it to be nearly that close, with folks also liking the very, very wide one. It has a little bit more of a minimalistic feel. I think that's kind of what it can go for, even though it is a wider shot. But it's great just to remind people, when you're out in the field and you look through that camera lens, you just simplify.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on. Dolph, Skinny Dip Falls. If you were paying attention a week or two ago, we had an issue with Dolph's in that it was much smaller. We figured that issue out. His email program was resizing his images for him. And now we've got a nice sized Skinny Dip Falls. It's called.
Cool.
I don't know if that's its official name. I'm curious now, Dolph. I'm not going to Google it because I'm not sure what I'll get if I Google Skinny Dip Falls.
I know, Dolph. I think we should be a little leery of this one.
It's a bunch of naked people falling off rocks, is what it is. I think I'm pretty sure that's what. So.
We've got some root bits and some stickiness in a corner of I think a tree coming in on the right hand side. I'm gonna come in from the right hand side a little bit. I don't want to go too far because I start to lose part of the falls down.
Yeah, and that's the most beautiful part of the photograph right down there in that lower right corner.
It really is.
Yeah. And I'm also going to, I think it feels just a little off. I don't know what is cueing me into that specifically, but it feels just a little crooked down there.
Get a little dizzy.
Yeah. What else? What else would we suggest for this image?
I would come down from the top a bit, take that brighter area out. It's not needed. You don't want to cut off the rocks that are in the falls right there, but that'll help bring more neutral light to the whole scene. And then I like what you did just now, coming in from the left. And then the other thing I would do is on that left-hand side, the water that's flowing off of those rocks is so much cooler than the beautiful golden color that we see in the lower right. So I would go in and I would use a brush and warm that up like you're doing there. It doesn't have to match. Obviously, the sun is hitting it in a different spot, and that's fine. But it's so blue from cool. Cool is blue, that it just contrasts that golden scene so much that you start to play ping pong with your eyes. And I really want to stay focused on that lower right corner because that's just gorgeous light.
That's a great point.
Yep. And this might be a place for playing with the new midtones, highlights, and shadow slider. The water is all going to be the highlights, so we could potentially bring our little circle up towards the warmer target and then drag from the center up that way, and we should see really the water change color more than anything else. You can see that some of the brighter parts of the rock are as well, and I think that proves it.
Yeah, I think when you painted in on there, a bunch of green got in the water somehow.
Yeah, it does look like that now, doesn't it? But I think we're gonna, I don't know why.
Beauty of Lightroom, you can
all right, nice. Okay, Mike has got Foggy Pines, and I think we have a finished version, and then I don't know what the difference is between the two, but I'll tell you what, I definitely like the matted border one.
Yeah,
definitely.
This is a cool shot, and what strikes me, what's better about this one, barring the fact that you've definitely cropped it more consciously, is that over here, in places it almost feels like this is snow. That fog is so thick and white. And over here, I get just a little bit more sense of it being this ethereal stuff.
Can I just say, these look like different images to me. If you look at the top row of trees on the left and the top row of trees on the right, when I say top row, I mean not the very top. Yeah. The fog is different.
The fog is at above that top row of trees in the right side image.
Yeah, and then in the bottom string of trees on the left, like not the very bottom, but just a third of the way up, look at the fog line and then look at it on the right. Yeah, it took me a second, but...
they were taken at different time. Good, 7:23 and then 7:24. So about a minute apart.
That's amazing. There was a lot of fog movement going on.
Yeah, there really was.
That's cool.
Yeah. I still like the one. I still like the one on the right better, but
yeah, good points. Yeah. The black and white here is good. What do we think about if we hit the J key, so we show our highlights and our darks, we clearly have very black region down here. Would you like to see detail in that area? Either of you?
That's a good question.
Okay, so I don't need to see it online or with virtual matte the way that his second one was shown.
Oops, I'm in the wrong one, aren't I? Yeah, sorry. Here we go. Jeez, there we go.
However, if you're going to print it large and put it on your wall, yes, you need to get detail out of that, because otherwise it's just going to appear as this flat black sort of surface.
Yep.
There is a difference, you know, even if it looks pure black, but there's some detail in it. There's some gray and some white that is kind of hidden in there. And you do notice it if you're doing like a really high resolution, large print on your wall, it is going to come through. As far as, you know, just sharing online and submitting for even competition and stuff like that, if you're submitting digital images at a certain size, you don't need to sweat it too much.
Mike says, yeah, he's confirming they are different images. Good call, David. And then Jeremy wants to know, can we find the eagle in the photo? And yeah, look at that.
Oh, there we go.
There is a bald eagle sitting on that dead tree. Mike,
That's funny. I kept checking out that tree because it is dead, and it's one of the few dead trees in the scene.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice the eagle, so good. Good find. The other thing I want to say about this picture, though, too, to the audience, Mike, kudos to you for using a long lens with landscape photography. We talk about this a lot. Used a 70-200. You're zoomed in at 200 millimeters.
Yeah.
Not sure why you want an f/16, but you know it's fine. It works. I'm sure you're on a tripod. And anyway, I think so many times you step up to a scene, we were just talking about this earlier, and you want to use a wide angle lens with landscape and stuff like that. But using a zoom lens when you're shooting landscape really can help you find this type of thing if you're standing way far away. So great job on doing that with this lens.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I might suggest a little dehaze in a couple of spots to bring a little bit more tree detail in through that spot, but overall I think this is a really nice image.
Yeah.
And I just want to echo Steve's comment. You've got no information here in the JPEG. In the original, I'd like to see a little bit more detail in there, especially if you were going to print it.
Yeah, or if you have another image where there isn't a black space in one of the corners, you know, then it just simplifies it. But I do think, Michael, I think you nailed it with simplicity. You made an image of trees in the fog, and that might sound too simple to the ear, but it's all you needed to create some drama in a photo. So nicely done.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Sue Stevens has this bird, little sparrow, and you know, I looked at this and I thought, look at that detail in the feather, just great. And then I noticed this is taken with a point and shoot. It's a nice point and shoot, but it's that RX10 Mark IV. I reviewed this camera in Iceland last year or 2 years ago now.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yep.
That's cool.
The second thing, though, that I noticed, Sue, is after really loving how much detail is in the feathers, is even with that smaller sensor, you still do need to watch your depth of field, and the bird's head is not as sharp as its body. So even though we think of a bird being kind of like, you know, not having a neck and a head different sized from its body, its head is like, what, a half inch past that shoulder or so? And that's just enough for focus to fall off. So really keep an eye out for that when you're shooting, and maybe bump up your aperture a little bit more. You could have probably gotten away with a little bit of a slower shutter speed and kept your ISO about where it is. Yeah, this is a nice shot. You know, we've got catch light in the eye. I'm not sure what else we'd suggest for this.
Maybe just a cropping thing for me. I think the bird feels very centered. Even though the eye does end up in the left third, I don't know. I mean, I think I would probably play around with a little bit the crop, maybe just coming in from the left just a touch. But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of times we want the animal to be kind of looking off into some empty space, but it's a bird like this it's kind of a long creature already, and so you don't want to cut the tail off so that to have like empty space on the left, and you don't want to make a really really wide shot of just a bird. So
yeah,
I don't know. That's just how I see it.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about that crop is it actually brought the bird's eye more into a third. It was a little bit more centered when it was wider.
Right.
So yeah, Carr, that's a good call on bringing that in. Also, the way the wood just kind of continues along the foreground there looks a little better with that crop. I like it the way you got it here.
Yeah. Sue, I might suggest trying, if you have topaz or want to try the trial of topaz, you might be able to bring this bird's head into focus a little bit more with its sharpen program. But yeah, all right. Roger Hunt has this one called Tranquility, and he posted in the pen group with a little bit more context for this, basically saying this was taken on a fairly cold winter day, and he wonders if he pushed these warmer tones a little too far, and also just looking for some feedback on the composition.
Just a point of clarification on the title, it looks like it's titled a title other than Tranquility.
Oh, which is a little nod to, I think, recently watching the PPA competition.
Yes.
There may have been a few images with a title called Tranquility.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know.
That was
offshoot of that, I titled one of my images for PPA this year, Social Distancing. And the image ended up doing very well, but that was a big issue for me. I thought, man, there's going to be so many pictures with the title Social Distancing in there. I personally didn't see a lot, but I missed a lot of the streaming. David McKay did watch a lot of it, and he said there was, in fact, quite a few with social distancing in there.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, Tranquility is constantly a very popular title in PPA competitions.
Yeah. And just real, pen members, if you haven't read Brian Scanlon's guest post about titling your work and kind of putting your work together in groupings, no matter what level you are, I think there's benefit to it. And beyond just kind of, it's not a like, ooh, I titled my work, I'm a real artist now. No, there's real benefit in it.
It's part of the impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So folks should go read that. I love it. Okay, so what do we think here? We gotta wrap these last three images up. Sorry, folks, we're at towards the end.
Yeah.
Quick answer: yes, Roger. I think you warmed it up a little bit too much.
Yeah.
It does. It's not bad. I'm kind of joking around because we know Roger, but I just think it's a little too warm. I think you back that off a bit, or even just tone down the saturation just a little bit. It just looks a little bit more realistic, more pleasing, because it's a very realistic scene. It's a tranquil scene, but you don't want it to be overly warm.
Unless you want to call it warm tranquility.
That makes me just want to have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like my bladder's full now. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I back here, it feels fairly natural to me as far as color goes. These kind of almost feels like that Orton effect. That softening back there, it feels a bit artificial.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like the focus fall off. But it is in this foreground here where I'm hit with the colors that just don't quite seem reasonable.
Toby, can you do me a favor before we get off of this image? Can you go to the crop tool and just crop out the sky and the sky reflection in the water, the white parts?
So come all the way up around there?
Yeah, I mean, you could just take it right to where the sky ends, so it's not, too. Yeah, there you go. It's not. See, to me, I really like something like that, because now all of a sudden the bird just is definitely the story. You don't have anything competing with it other than the brightness that's underneath it in the water. Yeah. Just some food for thought, Roger. I would then go and darken down that light spot in the water, because it's kind of this like stripe down there, just so that the really light part stays where the bird is.
And when I go in and look at the bird close, it's a little warm too, and so I think I would really be careful, back off, and make sure that it's that nice, clean kind of white egret feathers that we should get from that. All right, Roger, thank you for your tongue-in-cheek title and your picture. Brooke Caps has California Gold.
Beautiful.
Yeah, some nice repetition here. Really clean background. Just kind of as you make your way around this image, it's fun. It's a fun image.
Yeah.
So real fast, the real estate photographer in me is kind of cringing just a little bit. I want to go to, and it's a beautiful image. I'm not trying to downplay that. I would go to the transform tool and straighten some of this stuff out. There's a way of using this to help build drama in the scene, but in this particular scene, it's crooked just enough that it just looks a little off. It's not like intentionally adding drama. There you go. Perfect. Now I would crop out the sky. This is kind of a theme for today for me, I suppose.
You'd come down this far?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that again, there's a lot going on here. I just want to look at this road and the beautiful light behind the leaves. I don't know. That's really wide.
I think you're on the right track. I think there's something there to really hone in on.
Yeah.
Because it's a beautiful shot. I even love all the dappled light on the road. I think that's just a cool feature.
Yeah.
You know, you took it in midday, that's fine. Like we can't always take our photos at, golden hour, but using what you have there, I just think there is something to work with. It's a matter of playing with the crop, some of the transform, and I was going to say black and white, but I love the gold color, so I don't know.
Yeah. And I think I'm probably just on this kick today of showing you guys kind of the story within the story and using light that is kind of even throughout the image. It just tends to be a little bit more powerful that way and highlighting what you want to tell. But with this particular picture, if you do leave the sky in there, it's still fine. It's just know that it's going to compete with that beautiful golden row of trees.
Yeah. As you see, I did a square, and you can come up and less sky. You're still getting some of that sky in there. I think that can be powerful as well. If you are going to include the foreground with these leaves, they're not quite in focus enough. I think I would take them out. But that could be a really cool shot in the future, as one of these interesting leaves as an anchor point down in front, and then leading your eye off. Nice, Brooke. Really nice.
Yeah. Brooke was asking, is there a transform tutorial? And there should be a transform tutorial in the Pen membership area. I'd have to go back and find that. I did one very early on.
Yeah.
I think it was like the first video tutorial I ever did. It's on a white church in Iceland.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And Brooke, if you go into your membership portal and hit the search and type in transform, I feel pretty strongly that will come up in there. And if it doesn't, message us, we'll take a look. Message me. I'll take a look at that. All right. Chris Bartell, Mount Hood.
Wow. Okay. So this is a scene where there's a lot in it, but man, does it work. That is just
They're all elements that strengthen one another. The one thing, she shot a pano.
Oh, nice. It's a pano.
Nice. Yeah.
Very nice.
Probably vertical. What do you think? We have this little bit of treetops covering the bottom of the river. I don't think there's any harm in coming up so we have a clean river start.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Mount Hood in the sky there is very cool. What if I warm it a little bit? What happens? Oh gosh, see, this is my Lightroom just lagging, so I'm not seeing my changes until they get ugly. I don't know. Let's come across that and warm that up.
Color grading might be your friend in this one too.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much you could pull out of this to make it absolutely stunning. It's just going to take some color work and really fine tuning, but there's a lot to work with here.
think there's more texture, more contrast that can be had in here as well.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more texture. And I'm also curious, because a quick fix of me trying to warm it up looked terrible. What does the black and white look like?
Wow. I think you would need to reprocess this as a black and white. As I've said before, I edit my black and whites very different than I edit my color photos. Mm-hmm. But I think that this image is stronger as a black and white. I think that's really cool. You are kind of left with wondering what that open field is in a black and white. Is it a lake? Is it just a field where in the color you see that it's a green field? But I love the way the clouds look and the layers look as a black and white.
Yeah.
And Mount Hood really pops away from the sky.
And here's an example, though, folks, of like this wisp of cloud, fog, whatever this is, to me makes this photo. Like, I love Mount Hood. Of course, who doesn't love seeing a beautiful mountain like that? But to me, without that wisp of cloud, it is a lot of information that in the foreground that's just not. It's great that there's a river, but the river's too far from the mountain. But now you've got this thing that breaks it up. It flows in kind of an S-curve kind of shape. It's just really cool. I think that's it's one that as you're going through your photos, if you see something like this, you stop and you say, wait, I can do something with this.
Yeah. Jeremy points out, where to go? There's a little bit of ghosting now on this ridge after I think my heavy-handed dehaze. So you do want to be careful. On one hand, it helps kind of set that ridge apart, a little bit of depth, but you don't want it to look like you pushed it so far as I have here and edited it. Yeah, nice. All right. That brings us to the end of that. If you were watching this and you would love to have your images included in the future, please consider joining PEN, photorec.tv/PEN. It's just one of the many ways you can get feedback on your images. You can also post them in the community forum. You can post them on the private Facebook page. And, of course, the monthly image competition, as Steve was talking about at the beginning of the show. All really valuable ways for you to grow as a photographer, especially when we are somewhat limited in our abilities to go out and photograph this time. Going back through your catalog, finding old photos that you like, sending them in for feedback, getting some kind of feedback is a great way to grow as a photographer. So consider that. All right. I haven't heard the wind noise in a little while.
It kind of went away.
Yeah, and nothing changed. So we're gonna blame it on StreamYard maybe, and
maybe we could blame it on Lightroom. Since we're
everything's Lightroom's fault.
Damn Adobe.
The wind slider.
Let's see. All right, we were just bashing Lightroom. Let's talk for just a moment about alternatives. So actually, I share my screen again real quick because first up we've got Capture 121 is out now. The big update to this is it has a dehaze slider now. Earlier versions, I guess, did not. And it has the speed edit ability, which I thought, hey, is that something like auto edit? No, it's not. It is certain keyboard letters. You hit the letter, like I hit S, and now if I just start dragging up or down on the image, I'm adjusting the shadows right there. So it's basically keyboard shortcuts tied in with very, very fast editing, meaning you don't even have to go over and hit the slider. It's kind of like having that loop box, that little device just available to you. I don't know any of the letters right now, so I just guess. D apparently is the whites, so you can adjust the whites right there in real time. The kind of the media browser part of this is supposed to be sped up. So as I scroll through, it seems like it's maybe about the same, but I don't remember. See, I don't use Capture One enough. But again, if Lightroom keeps crashing on me, this seems like I know a lot of my photographer friends really love the way it treats their raw files, especially the kind of deals with the noise and the shadows better than Lightroom. I
have to admit, I downloaded my fifth trial of Capture One yesterday. It's just using up every email I've ever had. But I did download this, and I plan to play around with it. I think I actually want to take this 1 month trial and really really put it to the test, and see, is this something I could use as a viable alternative? Not necessarily getting rid of Lightroom, but just finding, I don't know, just playing with both of them. Yeah. I actually practiced a little bit going out of Capture One into Photoshop and then back into Capture One just to see how that process works in comparison with Lightroom, and it was every bit as seamless. So I was like, well, that's kind of nice. I don't have to give up Photoshop to get Capture One. But then again, I don't necessarily want to have to learn a whole new system and start building whole new catalogs and all that. So I don't know.
Well, interestingly enough, I feel like there's parity, there's convergent evolution here in that both of these programs seem to be coming to very similar feature sets. Lightroom, recently added, of course, the color grading tool.
Yep.
Capture One has had the color balance tool for a while. They look slightly different, but they work almost exactly the same. So that's one option. And then another option is the DxO. Today, just released 4.1. And I feel like this isn't quite as robust as Lightroom or Capture One, but for people, especially on a budget, this seems like it has everything you need. I think you can pick this up right now for $100 straight out. They're offering a 30% discount. There is a link in the show notes, which are linked down below this video. And the tools are there. The library collection is there. It doesn't work on that kind of catalog idea that Lightroom does. The new big deal for DxO is that it has the Deep Prime noise reduction, which is, I haven't tried this yet, but I'm hearing good things about it. And then, of course, it has all of your other basic corrections, as I just said. So two really strong alternatives that I'd invite people to try. And, we're going to be stuck at home for a little while longer, and or hopefully you get some time off over the holidays. This would be a great time to kind of sit down and really give it a shot and see if these alternatives will work for you.
Yeah.
And then Andrew's asking about Tops Studio. Did you mean Topaz? I don't know Top Studio. There are others as well. I mean, there's the On One RAW editor, and there's a couple others that we do bash Lightroom a lot, but we also use it a ton. And some of those other smaller companies, they seem a bit buggier than I would like to.
Yeah, I wonder about that. And I think, sometimes the grass is greener on the other side. I will say, we talk about, and I think we're going to talk about computers and all that in a minute, but, even if you go out and buy the fastest computer possible, you're always at the mercy of the software. You're always at the mercy of a glitch here or there. And even the fastest computers have bugs sometimes. So, I've gone from slower computers to much faster computers. And like load times are faster. When I go to import my photos, when I go to export, a lot of times that stuff speeds up. But the lag time with tools and stuff, and the lag time between scrolling from this photo to that one, that all kind of tends to stay the same. And so that says a lot to me about it not really being a computer problem at that point. I don't care how much RAM you have. If the software itself is going to take a second to push this massive file out of the way to get to this massive file, it's just going to take a little time. And so I don't know. I really do like the interface of Capture One. I like the aesthetics of it. It's very pleasing to me. It's very professional looking. And so, but I don't know if I have it in me to learn a whole new software.
And that's what Christina just mentioned in the chat room. She'd love to try it, but she doesn't want to spend the time learning a new program. And I hear you. And that's been a huge barrier of entry for me as well.
Sure.
I would have switched to Capture One a couple years ago. The only reason I didn't is because they do not support Hasselblad files, and I started shooting that camera for virtually all of my work. So that's the only thing that kept me from doing it. I kind of decided, okay, I'll swallow the pill and take some time to really learn how to do this, because like you, David, I did the trial, and I absolutely loved Capture One. Once I, kind of got used to the way the interface works. The thing that I love about Capture One, other than the fact that it processes raw files, in my opinion, way better than Lightroom ever does. You just barely move a slider in Capture One, and the vibrancy is either brought out or muted down, and it's so responsive. It's almost like the software enables you to get so much more out of a file that you didn't even know was there just by using Lightroom or Photoshop, or Camera Raw sliders. But what Capture One does, and I mentioned this on a show a couple weeks ago, is when you import your files into Capture One, it creates 4 subfolders. And of course, you can customize this, but it'll create like a raw file folder, and then an edited file, and then a final image file. And then each import is its own sort of database. So when you're accessing a picture within there, all it's doing is working on that one particular file. It's not working on a huge catalog. It's not moving a bunch of stuff around. It segregates everything into these smaller files, and as a result, it's super fast.
Yeah.
At least it was a couple years ago when I tried it. I was just totally impressed with its speed, and I think no matter what machine you're running, if it's got the capacity to run Capture One, you're going to benefit from that speed just because of the way it structures everything.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I would, like I said, I would switch over in a heartbeat, because you can still use Photoshop as a plugin, which I would have to do.
Sure.
But I was super impressed with Capture One. DxO, unfortunately, I just don't have any information about it. I know that they're a big time player now, and they're probably here to stay. I, like you said, Toby, am very leery of some of the smaller third-party companies coming in. Yeah, you can save money, but what good is it if nobody's using it and you can't get help from your friends or relatives or photo enthusiast network? This is somewhere where we can get a bunch of people switching over to Capture One. You guys can all kind of do some tutorials and learn together. I'd love to see something like that.
Yeah, and I'll say that both Capture One and Lightroom is doing this now too, is they have a lot of embedded tutorials, so you don't even have to leave the program. And Capture One has really brought those to the forefront as well. So it's easier than ever to learn, but as Christina said, it's still there. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, as a show, always we talk too much, but that's okay. I enjoy it. We got to get to some holiday gift suggestions, but I want to hit this story real quick. Drone flyer fined $182,000. Does that sound like a lot of money? Here's the issue. He live streamed over 120 flights. That's a feature that these DJI drones allow you to do. You can say, as you're flying, you can say the feed that comes into the little device then goes out to Facebook or YouTube. He live streamed 120 of these flights, and in 120 of these flights, he broke FAA rules. Either flying further than he was supposed to, or flying in zones where he wasn't supposed to, or flying above the altitude that he was supposed to. So somebody tipped the FAA off. They went and looked at this guy's YouTube channel and said, okay, for every one of your videos where you've broken the rules and shown us that you're breaking the rules, we're going to fine you $1,500. And that adds up to $182,000.
My gosh, poor guy.
Apparently, he's contacted lawyers. He's a very interesting. He's kind of a Philly dude through and through. He kind of, if you've ever watched like Sunny in Philadelphia, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He kind of strikes me as like he could be a character on that show. But serious jokes aside, some of his flights were well above 400 feet, flying over downtown Philadelphia. And my first thought, whenever I'm flying, is, I stay under that because I want to stay within the laws. Sure. But there's a reason they set that. It's because, like, hospital helicopters and medevac and police helicopters, they could be flying through the city, above 400, but in the range that this guy was flying. And absolutely a drone could cause an issue with a helicopter. And just
absolutely.
Who knows what trouble you've caused. So
I just said poor guy. I have to take that back completely. That's...
Well, we do feel bad for him.
Anybody that's got a fine like that, but it just, if you continue to break the law, you're breaking the law when you do that. So you've broken the law. If that's over 100 times you've broken a pretty serious law, you're putting other aircraft in danger. I mean, there's a certain point where it's like I don't have a lot of grace because you knew what you were doing, and it's like, but that is a boatload of fine. Gosh, just lesson learned, people. Like, don't do stuff like that.
I think there's something kind of good about the fact that the FAA is actually going after and finding people, and we're hearing about it. Of course, this is an extreme example, but sometimes you read a lot of these laws and just wonder, do they actually go after people with this stuff? How many? Because I mean, Toby, and David, you probably know too. We pull up to national parks, and you got guys flying drones and stuff, and breaking laws all the time. Yep. And I don't know. I don't have a lot of sympathy for this guy. What an idiot! You're showing you these videos to the world about what you're not supposed to be doing with a drone. And I know that the context of the video probably isn't about what not to do. It's hey, look at what I'm doing. But can you imagine if just even 10 people did that at the same time, let alone a couple thousand people? It's kind of like the guy that cruises down the road and he's just throwing McDonald's wrappers out of his car all over the place, and then doesn't get a fine for littering. I mean, that's the guy that I want $500 there and $500 there and $500 there. That stings, but you're an idiot. So, I'm sure the lawyers are going to get involved and it's going to be talked down. It's going to be page 6 news in a couple of days. But I mean, come on. Like Toby said, these laws are there for very good reason, not just to come down on you and tell you what you can and can't do. And
well, and if there had been like a tragic accident as a result of this, $180 fine, $180,000 fine would pale in comparison to what that kind of lawsuit would be. It's like all it would have taken would be one horrific accident with a helicopter or a small plane or something, and the lawsuit would have been out the window. So,
and the reason we get to do this cool stuff and have this great technology in our hands as consumers is because there's certain safety protocols in place, and we get to do it. All you need are a dozen of these guys out there, and we're not going to be able to do any of this stuff.
Right? Yeah, ruin it for everybody.
Yep, true. But let's stay on the drone topic for just a moment. Rumors that DJI is any moment now, any day now, going to release an FPV drone. So this is a much more racing style drone. Here is the leaked pictures of it. It's going to come, of course, with, there we go.
Whoa.
On the side. Yeah, it looks kind of badass. And
it looks fast just sitting in the box.
Yeah, that's got a RoboCop feel to it. I like it.
Comes with the goggles, which, just speaking about rules, to stay within legality here in the U.S., if you fly with goggles on, you need somebody with you, also keeping an eye on the drone, because you are supposed to maintain visual contact of your drone at all times. What's exciting about this is it's going to make this kind of flying. This is funny where they liken it to some kind of fancy coffee maker. Yeah, I can see the similarity. The Beagle drone here. So the flights you see here that are you feel like you're flying with current DJI products. You are, of course, flying, but it's usually kind of just this soft forward motion or rising forward motion. You don't have any of this swooping and dipping and very dynamic flying. And that's what you're going to get in this new FPV drone. It's not really going to be made first and foremost for videographers. It's going to be made most and foremost for fun flying, but you'll be able to create some of this kind of content. And up until now, it's not been a very approachable thing. The Beagle is probably one of the more popular ones. It requires some work on your part and some flying kind of learning, whereas DJI drones up to this point have been, you take them out of the box, you push a button, it takes off, and you push a stick and it goes in that direction. Very, very straightforward. And I think they're going to kind of blend that kind of easy to fly with a little bit more of a kind of a dynamic world. I'm curious. It's probably not going to be something that I'm going to own, but I certainly want to check it out and try it, because I think there's a lot more fun to be had in flying something like this than in the drones that I currently have, because those are more for a job than fun. So
is there speculation on pricing?
I haven't seen any yet, but the fact that it's going to come with the goggles,
It's going to be spendy.
I'm going to say somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 would be my guess.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yep. And it'll be curious to see if they put some of the smarts in it that they have had in prior drones. Like, will there be a follow mode that can swoop and dip, kind of like the Skydio stuff? So,
well, but it looks like in that picture it says a fly combo. So so the goggles are included in a fly combo. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if if you're buying it a la carte, if it's going to be less expensive to get into that.
That's true. Yep, I think it actually says FPV, but yeah, same idea. That's a good point. That's a good point. So yeah, we'll see. Cool. I'm excited though. More toys to play with, and we'll see soon. All right. This is good news. Sigma and Tamron have basically said that they will start making RF and Z mount lenses sometime in 2021, which. Canon has done a great job of getting RF lenses out the door, and they've started to have some more budget-friendly ones. I think Nikon has done a good job of Z-mount, especially budget-friendly ones, and fantastic ones from the get-go. But just having more options is good. It makes these mounts, more like, hey, I'm ready to jump in now. I can get all of the different kind of lenses that I've had on my old systems in these new systems.
Yeah, I've had at least two people in the last few weeks contact me saying they're ready to switch to mirrorless, Nikon users, and it was people who were, I felt like we're holding out pretty hard, like I'm not switching, and now they're kind of like, maybe I'll switch. So the fact that there are going to be more options available, I mean, it's just where it's headed. I mean, a year from now we'll be talking about it more and more. Like, remember the days of DSLR? We're in that phase of growth now. So I'm glad to see Tamron and Sigma finally stepping in. I'm not surprised. I mean, I think it was bound to happen, but it definitely helps everybody embrace a new technology.
Yep. And we mentioned this last week. I just want to remind people, Google Photos is going to start deleting your photos. That's the scary headline. As you know, Google has made a change. So if you use Google Photos, no longer can you upload any images for free. It used to be, under a certain size were free. All images now count against your quota, which right off the bat, I think is 2 gigs or something like that. But after 2 years of exceeding your quota, they will start to delete some of these images. So the earliest that any of this can happen, we're talking, is June 2023, is from what I've read. So we don't have to freak out just yet, but I did want to put that out there for anybody using Google Photos. And just to give you an update on the Amazon Photos, I've mentioned this from time to time as well, it finally did finish its backup. When it's running, Amazon Photos is a backup on my system. It really slows down my whole system. And it doesn't see some formats as valid. So for instance, I've been shooting with those Canon mirrorless cameras. They shoot the CR3 format. Amazon does not recognize that as a valid format at this time. So those files are considered to be video files and are not included. So, it's not really a good alternative at this time. So throwing that out there. And before we start to wrap up and talk about a couple of gift guides, I'll just mention, people, that there was a good solar flare yesterday, and the chance of decent aurora for the northern U.S. tonight and tomorrow night, it's certainly possible. When I say northern U.S., I'm talking like basically the states touching Canada, maybe a little further south if you're over on the East Coast.
So that excludes me.
Yeah. I can't remember what year it was that I heard about as far south as northern Florida once did have.
I heard about that.
And I'm sure it wasn't the only time, but that's the only time I know in recent
years.
It's pretty rare.
I'm more likely to see fireflies still in Georgia than I am aurora.
I miss fireflies a lot out here.
Yeah, they're awesome.
They're cool.
I got a text from David McKay a couple of hours ago, speaking of that, and the KP index up in Fairbanks right now is at a 7 out of 9. And for context, he says the most Frank and Miriam Stelgis are the ones that host our groups up there. They live up there. They have a beautiful home and they just do a wonderful job. But it says the most that Frank has ever been in is a 5, and it's scheduled for a 7 tonight. But they're waiting for the clouds to break up. So hopefully that happens, because if it does, man, they're going to get some really awesome aurora shots up there. They're on the Alaska tour right now.
They could get that drone guy to fly his drone above the clouds.
There you go.
That's true, yeah. And Jeremy's watching from Juneau, Alaska, and he's 7 is the forecast there as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Jeremy, get out with your camera tonight, buddy. I'm sure he would be anyway, but hopefully there's no clouds, or if there are, they clear away.
Yep.
The app I like, at least for Android folks, is just called Aurora. And it gives you a really nice kind of overview of your options and your chances and what that KP index is going to look like. You can see the red, that's where it's starting to get exciting. But you also need your BZ to be in the negative. And so this is a really nice app to have on you. But the thing is, it also can change in a moment.
Yeah.
So but if you're in one of these northern areas where get out tonight. I have the Sony A7S III on loan to me, which is a low light beast, and I also have the 24-1.4 and the 12-24 f2.8, and I think I'm going to head out tonight. A little east of me is clear skies, and even if I don't get aurora, I need to do some star shooting with these lenses anyway. So, but you never know if you don't get out there.
That's right.
Let's talk a little bit about some suggestions for gifts, guys. Do you have some? Because I full disclosure, I've said it before. I don't pay these guys anything, and I just spring these ideas on them, usually less than 24 hours in advance. So, if I get anything from them, I feel really grateful.
We love you, Toby.
So, I'll go if you guys want to think of some ideas, if you have some ready in mind. A couple of things that I think are great gifts that just work all the time is, one, gift cards to a good print lab like Bay Photo.
Oh yeah, it's good.
If you've
Dang it, you stole mine. That literally was going to be mine. Gift card to Bay Photo Lab.
Yeah. Well, why would you give that, Steve? Why is that a good present?
Oh, it's awesome. I think that, any of us that are on this show together and in the pen community and stuff like that, I mean, we talk about printing your images. I just can't say it enough. The images that you take are not meant to just live in your computer. You should print them, give them as gifts, put them on the wall of your house, show them off. And Bay Photo Lab, in my opinion, is the best. I've used them since high school, and they have tons of really cool gift options. I don't know that they're the cheapest place out there. They're certainly not the most expensive, but I will tell you they're the best value. And if they don't get it right, they always fix it. Our pen members have been super excited about them. And they're a local shop. They were founded down in Santa Cruz, California, where I grew up. And they ship all over the world now. And they just do an incredible job, and it's a chance to support a lab that we love working with so much.
Yeah.
And there's tutorials that we've done on how to navigate the ROSE system if there's something specific that you want to do as a large picture or something like that. But I just think that gift cards are a good gift this year. We're all at home a lot more, and we're doing a lot of online shopping and that kind of stuff. If you can figure out a way to support your local folks with a gift card, I think you should do it.
Yeah, and I just want to chime in a little bit on the printing thing, because I mean I've felt really motivated and inspired lately to really take a look at printing and printing more. I started working in this art gallery part-time a few weeks ago, and being around great art all the time, hanging on the wall, in these beautiful frames, presented beautifully. A lot of it is printed on metal. They'll do these copies of a beautiful painting, and it'll be like number 35 of 100 or something, and it'll be printed on metal, beautifully framed. And I'm like, man, my photos should look like that. And when you're painting pictures, you don't have an option for it to just live digitally on a computer. You have to express it on a canvas. And I think our photographs, that's really where they're meant to end up. And so I would challenge everybody to pick a photo that, maybe that you took in 2020 or up until this point, and just say, I'm going to print this thing. Like maybe kind of print it at a decent size and with a beautiful finish, and work towards that. And if it's something where you need help, like figuring out like what should I do? How should I, like, contact one of us. We can help you figure out like how to get it to a good finished place to print it. Cause it's so rewarding when you get that print back. You're like, this is why I love photography, not because I can move sliders in Lightroom. It's because of this. And so I just challenge everybody. I'm challenging myself too, to really step up my game on that.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I shouldn't go first. What else you guys got? Throw some ideas out there, and then I'll wrap up with anything else.
Gosh.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
There wasn't Bay Photo. I specifically did think about it. That's why I kind of jumped in there. But I had more of a message for folks, just to try to find any local shops in your area, whether they're camera shops or technology, whatever, and try to support those folks.
Yeah,
because and I don't know. We do this a lot with our local restaurants here. We have a couple favorites that we absolutely love, and they've obviously been struggling like crazy. And, we don't use third-party stuff like Uber Eats or any of that stuff, because they take a portion of those profits. We go right to the restaurant. We've got a favorite restaurant in the town that I grew up in, right by my mother's house, and she still lives there. And so I contact them. They've actually got a good website now, but last year I called them up and ordered a gift card to be mailed to my mother's house for them. And I plan on doing that again this year. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching. Spoiled the surprise. But, I think the same way about photography, just with the state of what we're going through and stuff. If you can support your local camera shop, I just highly encourage you to do that. Or somebody's local camera shop where they are, just pick up the phone, give them a call, get on their website, and get a gift card to that local person so that they can shop there. There's plenty of people shopping on Amazon. Sorry, Timmy Scott, but you guys are doing fine.
That's good.
Yeah. David Carr, you have anything that you'd like to say or suggest?
I mean, I don't know. I was thinking, SD cards, and especially the XQD and CF Express cards are so expensive. So that'd be quite a gift to give somebody. But if you've got the scratch to do it, a photographer that needs it, or I don't know. I think those little peripheral things, they add up, and they can mean a lot to people. But I definitely second the gift card to things like Bay Photo. Anything that's going to encourage somebody to take their photography further. I mean, that's specific to photography. Obviously, there are plenty of gift ideas outside of that, but I don't know. I don't have a lot to add.
Okay. Yeah, good. No, good. There are smaller companies online as well. Just shout out to the Spider folks. I was thinking, like, what is a product that I have reviewed before, but I just keep using again and again and again, and I'm really happy with, and it's the Spider backlight system. They just released an updated version of this, and it will go on a camera strap or on a belt. This little metal piece comes off. I think their updated version is kind of a composite material, so it's even lighter but still just as strong, and it's affordable. It's under $150, which I in the world of photography stuff, I count that as fairly affordable. So if you have somebody in your life that doesn't have a kind of a camera attachment system like this, I do recommend these guys. And then for beginning photographers and people who know beginning photographers, in some ways this is cliche, but if they don't have a prime lens, or if you don't have a prime lens, I really, really think it is a great tool to have in your bag, and also to force yourself to use from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're like, I don't know, if you're struggling on there's a lot of different prime lenses, I'd say somewhere between 35 to 50 focal range for kind of like a general walk around prime on full frame would be
definitely nice. That's a good call.
Yeah. And then another thing that I love, and everybody's got one, but they're nice to update from time to time, the Rav Power banks. Actually, this one's from Aukey. This is a 20,000 packed into this little guy. And I had this one that on this road trip recently, and it's just fantastic. Charges all my cameras, all of my stuff, and just really love these as well. So,
hey, I wanted to chime in. I was just reading Brian Scanlon's comment about a really good leather strap for smaller mirrorless cameras. You know, a lot of people, that's a great suggestion. And I dipped away for a second here because in my drawer in my office, I recently got rid of some Fuji gear, but I had this on there, and it's just a kind of an old school looking leather strap.
Nice.
The company is called, I think it's Ona. O-N-A.
Yeah,
you guys
Ona.
heard of them? I know we used to sell them when I worked at Sammy's Camera, and they're not a cheap company, but I think I paid $40 or $50 for this, which is kind of a lot for a leather strap, but I love this thing, man. It was so cool. I had it on my Fuji XE3, and it just felt old school, and it was really easy, and it just gets better with time. So to Brian's point, that's a great one, and it's not too expensive, but it's something that's really cool. And when I got rid of the gear, I'm like, this is definitely going on back on my film camera. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Nice. All right. Before we wrap up and finish up, Steve, you wanted to share a little bit about experience of selling gear. You sold something recently. Tell us a little more.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I know the show's getting a little long, but I did want to just put this out there, not to use a public stage to bash somebody, but just to warn people. Toby, you did a great Tuesday tip yesterday that went out about selling gear. Yeah. And so what I did is I had some gear to sell, and I actually reached out to Brian. He gave me some great advice, and unfortunately, at the end of the day, I didn't take it. At least he kind of warned me in one direction, and that's the direction I went in, and warning was turned out to be true. But I reached out to MVP, I reached out to B&H, even went down to my local camera shop, which, by the way, if you're selling gear to your local camera shop, like 90% of those local camera shops get onto B&H's website and type in what you have and use what B&H would give you as what they're going to offer you. Just FYI. Yeah. So, I made an appointment with my guy at the local camera shop and went down there, and then he's telling me what he'll give me, and I look, and it's a B&H site. I'm like, dude, I could have done this at home. So anyway, their offer was low. MVP was low. KEH offered me $585 for what I had. And then Adorama offered me, they sent me an email. I filled out a form. They don't give you a price, and then they call you. The guy called me, left me a voicemail, and then sent me an email and said it would be around $600, which was already a little weird. But I bought a couple lenses from them in the past, and it was $600, so it was a little bit more than KEH. They sent me a link. I sent everything in. This stuff was pristine. It was like brand new. Anyway, it was one problem after another. It was just ridiculous. I had tracking. It arrived. I got an email 3 days after it arrived. I got an email from Adorama that they had gotten it. And then they said it could take up to a week for somebody to give you your actual offer. So I waited 9 days, and I contacted them and said, it's been over a week and I haven't heard anything. I got confirmation that you received it. And then I was on phone tag for literally 2 days trying to get somebody on the phone. I finally got someone on the phone who was very rushed, and they offered me $350. And I said, I have an email here saying that the offer was going to be $600. Okay, I need to transfer you. So I got transferred to another guy, on hold forever. That guy said, go ahead and forward me the email. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. 3 days later, I went ahead. I said, okay, it's Cyber Monday. I'll give them a break. 3 days later, I heard nothing. And I went through all the phone tree crap again. And I finally got the guy back on the phone. And I said, look, just send me my gear back. You've got a really sketchy business model. I don't trust you. This has been a terrible experience. My buddy, he kind of told me this may not be the direction to go, and I should have listened to him. And then he jumps back on the line. He says, okay. And I said, I want verification that you have my address. You're sending this equipment back, and I'm going to wait for the email while I'm on the telephone with you. And he said, no problem. He said, put you on hold. puts me on hold for about 30 seconds, comes back on and goes, "We just got authorization to give you $600 for your equipment."
Of course.
And I said, "Fine, just save me the headache, send me the check." Then they send the check to, he says, "What's your address?" I give him the address. We verify it. I get the email, and then I get the UPS email that this quantum, like, I can follow my UPS shipments, and they addressed it to the wrong place. They addressed it to an address that doesn't even exist. It's my home address minus the first number. And so then I had to contact them again, and they had to intercept the carrier. And
but what were they shipping? Are they shipping a check?
My check? Yeah.
Oh, okay. They don't do that digitally?
No, I said, I think at that point, and they said, "Well, your offer is $350, but we could give you a lot more if you were going to be buying something from us," which is just sleazy. And
that is.
I'm just the kind of guy that it's like, there's no conditions attached. If I give you something, there are no strings attached. And it's not because I'm a good person. It's that I've made a decision to give you this, and
right.
The case is closed. I want you to have it and enjoy it. It's yours. If I sell you something, I want it to be a price that's beneficial for me and for you. I want it to be a good, fair deal. Right. And there's just no gray area in that with me on a transaction like that. And to have these guys get on the phone and they're like, to go from 600 down to 350, and then we could give you more if you're buying gear. And by the way, we just got authorization that we can give you the 600. It was horrific. So
yeah, that's terrible.
Say, for me, I'm simply telling you guys this to warn our audience. Don't be surprised. It was after all this happened that I got on a website, a couple website forums, and I looked, and this is a very common problem with Adorama and the way that they do business. They ghost people basically as soon as they get the equipment, and then you got to play their game in order to get money. So I just
awful.
stay away from it. I should have just gone with KEH and get $15 less.
Well, Daniela is asking why not sell on eBay, and I just want to chime in real quick on that. I've sold on eBay a good bit, and I've been scammed on eBay. I've had people click buy it now, which removes my listing, and then we go through 3 days of nonsense of them not wanting to pay me, and they're really just trying to steal something. And then you pay all these fees with eBay, and then you pay PayPal fees and all that. So I'm telling you guys, I have bought and sold so much stuff on Facebook Marketplace.
And
just
even that is getting really sketchy. I mean, it's
there's some sketch out there.
Craigslist.
Yeah,
I just didn't want to deal with any of that, and unfortunately, I picked the one retailer out there that's going to operate in that.
I'll just say this with Facebook. The good thing is, you can go check out their profile. And you can't do that with Craigslist. You don't know who you're dealing with Craigslist. And a lot of times with eBay, you can check their feedback, but with Facebook, you can at least go look at their profile, and you can get a sense of, is this an actual person? Do they actually have a real life? Oh yeah, look, it's a family man. Like, look, they did this thing. They went to this game. They went, you kind of just follow. Look, this is a legit person. And you just don't deliver anything until you get payment. But it's always a risk, but you can make a lot more money off your gear too. I'm just saying, don't be too afraid of it. I've had great success with it, and everything I've sold has been, just about everything has been through a channel like that, and it's so far been pretty decent. So I'm really sorry you had that experience, Steve.
I should have just reached out to the Penn group and just said, hey, here's, I got a bid for this. Would anybody like to pick it up for that, or cover the shipping for me to get it to you? Because then I know where it's going, and it's a legit group of people. But live and learn. And I didn't want to deal with any of those more retail pricing sort of structures, because I just thought it was going to be super simple. Get a label and ship it off and get a check.
Not so.
I got a similar story, but mine's about Lowe's and patio supplies that have never been delivered and have only partially been refunded.
Oh gosh.
But that's not that's the next show I run in a day. I go live with my Patio Stone Supply live Mish Mash. Yeah.
It's a lively
so,
bunch.
all right. Good. Sorry that happened to you, Steve. And,
hey, I'm here to help you guys out.
learn from your lack of listening to Brian. Basically,
yeah, that'll teach you. Listen to Brian Scanlon. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. All right. I think we're gonna wrap the show up. A couple of quick Q&As, real quick. When Lynn wants to know, is there a way to give pen membership as a gift to be opened on Christmas? And I'm going to say yes, Lynn. We can figure that out. If you email us, David McKay and I will put our heads together and come up with ways to do that. So, Laurie wants to know, she's regarding Thunderbolt tech. Can you get some benefits if you have a Thunderbolt port, a Thunderbolt cord, but your external drive isn't Thunderbolt? Or do all three components need to be Thunderbolt?
I don't know how you'd plug a Thunderbolt cord into a non-Thunderbolt drive.
I think they make
adapters. Yeah, I've got this adapter here that's Thunderbolt to USB.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. So,
but I think it bottlenecks it. I think it's
sure
at whatever point it switches, you're back to regular USB.
And specifically in Laurie's case, the external drive isn't Thunderbolt, so I would really expect that the drive isn't going to.
No, you're not going to get the speed of Thunderbolt, unfortunately. And I will tell you from personal experience that stepping up and paying the extra money for fast transfer cabling like Thunderbolt is well worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. Also, the distance of that cable, the length of that cable can make a difference. So check the throughput when you're ordering cables, because if you go from 3 to 6, sometimes it reduces the throughput. Feet.
Oh, good point.
3 to 6 feet.
Good point. Yeah. Okay. All right. And Daniela wants to know what my opinions are of Luminar AI is. Not enough to share. I don't know, gentlemen. Do either of you have you played with Luminar enough to share any thoughts on it?
Just I use it all the time for sky replacements and stuff, but that's all I use it for. I love it for that, by the way. For me, it's money well spent.
Are you still using it, even though Photoshop now has that built in, or have you
not really? So that's why I haven't, created much of a stir about this whole thing. I bought Luminar sky replacement software or whatever quite a while ago and been using it like crazy for my real estate photography. But now that Photoshop has it, I'll just use that. Because I couldn't see much. I think Photoshop does just as good of a job, and it's all baked into Photoshop, which is great. I don't have to leave Photoshop to do it. So I will say that with Luminar, there's just kind of seems to be a little bit more maybe you can do, but that's probably my lack of knowledge around using Photoshop sky replacement at this point. But I think that with Photoshop, it's just going to get better and better and more robust.
Right. Yeah, it's already great, so it's only going to get better. So
yeah.
All right. There's a couple more questions, but we've run long. We're going to get to them next show, so make sure you tune back in. And David Carr, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, go. Sorry, go ahead.
I know. If you're watching this show and you don't already follow David, you need to. He's on Instagram. His Instagram handle is right there on the page, and it's linked right down below this video as well. And he does have a YouTube channel that he occasionally uploads. I would think if he suddenly sees a bump in subscribers, he might put up some more fantastic content soon. So
yeah, I'm seeing a little bump, and the podcast. I'm surprised. I'm still getting a lot of downloads, and I haven't done one in quite a while. So I think it's time to do one. I've been in this lack of motivation funk for a while. So,
I hear you.
Admittedly.
I hear you. All right. And Steve, thank you so much for joining us today. You can follow Steve, who has posted on Instagram since our last show.
Twice. Yes. And even a couple little, one of the stories was wishing you a happy birthday. But
yeah, that counts.
Just me figuring out how to do an Insta story is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So
you did.
Yeah.
You did it. Good job. You did a good job. All right. You can follow Steve, of course, on Instagram. His information is linked right down below. And if you watched the show this far and you haven't already hit that thumbs up button, I don't know what you're doing. Hit that thumbs up button, please. It's an easy way to thank us for our time. And subscribe if you haven't already. That is a very nice way to thank us for our time. And we'll be back next week. And thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, chat room, for all of your fun. And Roy, thank you for all your hard work behind the scenes. Till next week, everybody. Stay safe, healthy, happy. Bye-bye.